Woo woo! All aboard the Turtle Creek Flyer.
The same route, or you just want to go back?
We just go in reverse.
Welcome to Lebanon, Ohio, the LM&M Railway, Southwest Ohio, located in between that Cincinnati and Dayton area. A lot of history here. Hey, welcome all rail fans. Want to check this out. You may not be a rail fan, but this is something very cool you might be interested in. Taking that scenic rail ride, experiencing some of the history of this area. Maybe you want to ride Polar Express, one of the dinner trains, one of the murder mystery trains available here at the LM&M Scenic Railroad, Lebanon, Ohio. We're going to take a look at some of the historical cars on the train, go inside, experience a little bit of train ride, some of the scenic scenes that you can see along the tracks. Here's a little bit of the history. Come along with me. Let's do this. Okay, we're going to walk over here and have a look at the 901 from the Nickel Plate Railroad. And the LM&M stands for Lebanon. That's where the train station is. That's where you're going to board it. Mason and Monroe. And this area gets its start around 1795 as far as European settlers go. There was an outpost settled at the beginnings of Warren County down here in this area. And in 1802, the town of Lebanon was laid out between the two forks of the Turtle Creek. In 1803, a Revolutionary veteran, William Mason, founds the village of Palmyra. After he dies in 1832, the citizens vote to rename the settlement Mason. 1818, Monroe was founded and named after the president, James Monroe.
1491, going right in front of that little. I was just going to say, come on, somebody break up this cycle.
You gotta pay for that, Jessica. You don't just take it. You gotta pay for it first.
Okay, John, let's do it.
This is our boarding pass.
That's what's going to get you on.
So from 1845 to about 1880, there's a series of events with plans of making that connection to Lebanon that fall through. It's bypassed by Lebanon, Miami, and then there's problems with creating the grade. There's a bankruptcy that happens until finally in 1880 the connection is made to Lebanon. As I start to dig into some of the history of this rail line, you see that it's been through quite a bit. It survived the Ohio River flood of 1884, and it gained the name of the Highland Route as being the only rail line in the area to survive that flood, as it was built outside of the river valleys. It also was the lifeline for Dayton, Ohio during the Great Flood of 1913. Around that same time in 1913, the Pennsylvania Railroad begins to acquire the rail lines in the area. In 1934, all railroads in Cincinnati agreed to begin using that time the new Union Terminal for passenger service. Soon after that, the passenger service to Lebanon ends.
Here you go.
All right, folks. Welcome to our Turtle Creek Flyer. My name is Oria. I'm going to be one of the conductors on today, passenger conductors on today. If you have any qualms, questions, or concerns, you can just either ask me or any of the other staff on board. We'd be happy to answer you guys. But for right now, we're just going to be going on about what's going to be happening on board, more or less. We're going to be heading about 4.4 miles out, stopping, then reversing 4.4 miles back. We're going to be going through residential, industrial, bit of wooded and farmlands. You guys are allowed to get up and move about the cars anytime you feel like it. We do have a concessions car on board. It's going to be that next car over. When moving throughout the cars, please keep in mind 3 points of contact, 2 feet on the floor, 1 hand on the seat. That way no one topples over. These deluxe cars tend to be a bit rocky. Just be mindful of that. And yeah, other than not licking the windows and trash, we do not have any physical trash cans on board. If you need trash to be tossed away, just ask one of us. We'll bring by bags. I'll try to bring one roughly a bit further in, twice around.
So in 1952, through Cincinnati freight service ends. The line north of Lebanon toward Wythe and Dayton is abandoned. Then in 1968, the Pennsylvania merges with its main rival, the New York Central. They form the Penn Central. 3 miles of track south of Mason is abandoned. 2 years later, in 1970, the Penn Central files for Chapter 11 protection. At that time, it was the largest bankruptcy in American history. Never been on one that rock back and forth like this. In 1976, the U.S. government consolidates Penn Central's profitable lines in a new corporation called Conrail. Many other lines are given notice of abandonment.
Depends. I know this train is roughly around, say, 40s or 50s. It's a nice little Amtrak train.
The city of Lebanon, together with local rail-served businesses, lead an effort to save local rail service. Ultimately, the city would purchase 6 miles of the line. In 1984, the Indiana and Ohio Railroad purchased the Mason and Monroe line from Conrail. Then, in 1988, begins passenger excursions in Mason and Monroe. In 1996, the Indiana and Ohio is sold to Railtech. The passenger service is spun off into a separate company. In 2001, the Excursion train is renamed Turtle Creek Valley and Lebanon Railway in honor of Lebanon's support for track repairs. The city and the railroad celebrate with a special Back on Track event. In 2006, the Turtle Creek Valley and Lebanon Railroad is acquired by the Cincinnati Railway and renamed the Lebanon, Mason, and Monroe Railroad. 2014, the L.M. and M Railroad and the City of Lebanon reach an operating agreement for continued operations within the City of Lebanon, Ohio for the next 7 years.
We got our first passengers in 1881. A good amount of time ago.
Only 3 of us were alive.
Used to be the original Pennsylvania route, went all the way to Cincinnati, all the way to Dayton. It was originally more passenger, but then it took on a bit of freight as once the passengers started leaving for the terminal, all the consolidations. But now it's just only passengers, at least this bit of the line. It only goes to Mason to here now.
Okay.
But we can still get to Cincinnati through the, Mason, the Monroe area way, going to Trayersville and whatnot. It's quite nice.
In 2015, the LM&M begins operating as the nonprofit Cincinnati Scenic Railway.
If you enjoy this ride, but maybe want something more themed, we have rides coming up such as our wine and cheese trains, our pumpkin patch trains are going on right now, murder mystery trains. I always like to give a shout out to our sister train, the Cincinnati Dinner Train. They do 1949 era style dining on their train cars. It's quite a hoot and a holler, let me tell you.
All right, let's wrap this up. A few more minutes here. Scenic railroad trip. Hey, this is a good one. If you're I've never really done something like this, train ride, and you just want to take a nice little ride. This is 4.5 miles out, 4.5 miles back. Quick little trip. Chance to learn some history, rail history out Southwest Ohio area. Chance to step back in time. They have special events, Polar Express, pumpkin ride, date nights, all sorts of stuff. Check it out, LM&M Railroad. I am V-Man on the road and on the water. I've got some other videos from this area, the Newport Aquarium, B&B Riverboat Tours. The channel is about roadside attractions, points of interest, historical sites, all sorts of stuff like that, museums, and I have several videos on the Amish. Until next time, my friends, it is good to be alive.
I can hear the demons call when they do it.